Welcome to Takeaways, Life Lessons Learned. My guest today is Victor Fuchs. Fuchs. That was what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Because looking at your name, we can say it a few different ways.
Well, I can tell you a story how the name evolved.
Let's start there.
Yeah. So it was spelled in former Soviet Union as Fuks in Russian letters. So when we came and crossed Ellis Island, almost they made a joke, but we had no idea. So they put us as Fuks, of Fuchs. And can you imagine going through junior high school and high school with my name spelled like that?
Fuks.
When I got introduced to Boy Scouts and I didn't speak very good English, they introduced and I wrote my name on the board. And everybody in the troop said, Victor did what? And then this is how I went in high school. Every time the new teacher came in at the roll call, they would always stop at my name because they didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I used to raise my hand and say, Fuchs, please. Yeah. And that's how I went.
It's very polite of you.
Yeah. And until we became naturalized citizens, we had Fuchs. My mother was a dentist, and she had a huge sign on the freeway, and it said, Dr. Olaf Fuchs, Fuks, dentistry. People were wondering. So when we became naturalized, we changed the name to Fuchs.
Fuchs.
So
Victor Fuchs.
Fuchs, yeah.
And Victor is the president of a little company called Helix Electric.
Right.
So originally from Ukraine, immigrated to the United States. I think you teased out a little bit about that. So how old were you when you moved here?
14.
14 years old. Who came with? Who obviously
So
your parents, but who else?
Just with my parents and I. My cousin came. How did we ended up in San Diego? Is because my cousin came here first when we left former Soviet Union. Then it was all Soviet Union. It wasn't Ukraine. You had to leave.
Okay.
You had
I
to
see
lie.
The correction there. Yeah.
You had to lie where you're going. You had a fake invitation from fake relatives in Israel that Israel was producing those to get Jews out of Russia, because that's the only way you can leave, by reuniting with your family, who supposedly you lost contact during World War II, during the whole Holocaust. And that was the Western world was pushing Brezhnev to do this. So
what year was this roughly?
That was the whole movement was like mid-70s. We left in December of 77, and so lost my train. So as we left there, going to Israel, and when you got to Vienna, that's where you made decision. There were two organizations, Jewish organization, walk in actually in a train and say which way you're going, and they would segregate people. Some people went to Israel, some people went to Western countries. My cousin was in San Diego then.
So before San Diego, sorry. So where did you guys go? Which train did you get on?
So we got on a train from Lvov, going to Poland, going to Vienna. And at Vienna, there was a decision which train you end up. So we went from Vienna. We ended up staying in Vienna for 7 days. And then from Vienna, we went to Italy. And we spent 3 months in Rome while the immigration papers were getting all sorted out.
And what caused you guys to leave?
Soviet Union?
Yeah.
Oh, anti-Semitism. And all
describe for you as a Jewish family. Your mom's a dentist, you said. What did your dad do?
My dad was the chief engineer.
So engineer, dentist, probably doing okay financially.
No such thing.
No.
Barely making financially. Barely
these are good careers.
My parents could not afford the car. Let's put it that way. The only way you could make it well in the former Soviet Union was to put your life on the line. So you would make deals, which is in our country called business.
Mm-hmm.
In that country, you do business until you get caught, and then you go away for a long time. And being Jewish, chances you get convicted would be 75%. So there are people that did much better. but they were putting their life on the line. So my parents had an education. For me to get an education after high school was probably 50% chance because Jewish. So when we lived in Soviet Union, our nationality was not Ukrainian. Our nationality was not Armenian. Our nationality was not Georgian or Moldavian. Our nationality was Jewish. So a sixth line in the passport was said, you're Jewish under nationality.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't hide it. You would go anywhere. You go to, because people didn't have driver's license, it was not the same thing. So your ID was your passport. So anywhere, check-in hotel, they knew you were Jewish. Check-in airport, they knew you were Jewish. Anywhere when you show ID, the other party knew you were Jewish. And there was very strong anti-Semitism. So it's all getting a job, they knew you were Jewish. So if the other party is close on anti-Semite side, you would get a very tough treatment. And then those people, it's the same, almost, I hate to describe it as Palestinian, Palestinian kids being told at 2 years old to hate Jews, right? We all know that. And then it's hard to get it the other way. Some people turn around, but most of them end up living that life because they know Jews are the enemies. Same thing was taught at probably dinner table in Soviet Union by some Russian families who were anti-Semites. So you go to school and there's kids that are anti-Semites. I almost got beat up in a pioneer camp that my father had to take me out because the night before that, one of the other Jewish kids got beat up
just for being Jewish.
Just for being Jewish. So, and there were jokes and all kinds of things. So my mother would be called a Jew in line for food on the street. So it was anti-Semite that was started with Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in revolution days, but it got really bad after World War II. Was very prominent, very prominent. The Jewish people were being prejudiced there. And that's one of the reasons my parents decided to leave. Yeah, better life, but we gave everything up. So we came here with absolutely nothing. But more of opportunity for me because you had to pay a lot of money under the table to get into college.
So you're 14 years old. You guys made it to Italy, you said. And then from Italy, did you go through New York?
Through New York, one night, straight to San Diego.
Well, how did you get, you drove from...
No. Flew.
Flew.
Yeah. And Jewish Federation is the one who helped us. They're the ones who funded the whole thing.
So we'll talk about Jewish Federation a bit later. All right. So now you're in San Diego. You said your cousin was there.
Yeah. He came 8 months before that. So we came in and in April of 1978.
And you're about 14 years old. You're like junior high.
Went to last.
Did you speak any English?
My parents had some private lessons of English, but I didn't take it serious when I was in Soviet Union. So I had to learn. Mm-hmm. So I knew a little bit, but very little. It took 3 months, 4 months to finally get going. I had a special teacher assigned to me. By the way, coming out of communist country with the name Fuchs, all odds against you. And people were making fun of me, which I didn't understand. Their kids were saying that my father came to the United States to build communism. That was right in the heart of this whole Cold War. So it was tough. Just like in Soviet Union, people were uneducated. Here, and the place we went is very low, very low middle class environment. So kids were not educated, didn't understand it. They only heard what they heard, and that's what was transpired. So it took me a while to develop friends, and that was a very interesting experience. But because I was grabbing to anybody that would take me under their wing.
And so you somehow made it through high school with a funny last name, funny accent, few friends, and you finally did make it to college.
Yes.
So the dream of getting you a better opportunity was realized.
Absolutely.
So where did you go? What did you study?
I went to UCSD, the only college I applied to, and studied biology, general biology, because with biochemistry inclination. Why? Because my mother wanted me be a dentist, and I was the only or my parents wanted me to be a dentist, and that was the only path to go was to study that. It was not something I was passionate about.
Did your parents get to work right when they got here?
Yeah,
Mom
absolutely.
dentist, dad is engineer?
My dad started as like, he was just telling me $4 an hour originally.
So his first job was $4 an hour.
And then they realized that he was good. So they increased it to $15 an hour.
It's a good jump.
Yeah, it was a good jump. Somebody just did a favor because, the Jewish people just hired the favor. My mom started this cleaning in dental offices and start learning because she needed to take a.
I see. Because she couldn't practice. Despite being a dentist, she couldn't practice here.
Yeah, no, she had to take a full license.
Okay.
So it took her a few years to get that going and finally pass. So she was working as dental assistant, started like washing dental stuff, and then working as dental assistant for a while until she got her license.
What was it like for her for going from being a dentist to being a cleaning person at a dentist's office, do you think?
It was probably mentally very, very tough. Very tough. But she really that's what she wanted to do. She was passionate about her profession, and she studied very hard. So she worked during the day and studied at night at Kaplan. I'm probably familiar with that Kaplan courses. And there were quite a few tests you had to take to get the license. And she finally got it. Yeah. That was a big celebration in our family.
So you studied biology, you graduated with a degree in biology, but you didn't become a dentist. What happened?
So I applied. I finished, did pretty well in college and finished, and I applied to a whole bunch of dental schools all over the country and ended up getting accepted to UCSF, which then was two top schools in the United States, with UCSF and Harvard. In Harvard, you would go if you wanted to teach, not practice. UCSF, you would go if you actually wanted to be a dentist. So I went there. I was there for almost a year and a half. And
how long did it take to get a degree back then?
4 years.
4, okay. Yeah.
So I went the first year, and I was doing very well. I have this natural skill for manual dexterity, which is very important. 3D vision, which is very important.
What is it called?
Manual dexterity.
Manual
dexterity. So you have to work well with your hands and be able to see things in 3D. If you have difficulty in that, chances of you being a good dentist be slim to none, because it's all about hand stuff. So I had those skills. So it was much easier for me, unlike some other people that wanted to be a dentist but didn't have those skills and I had to learn them. So I did very well. And the first year, those days, it still is, when people graduate from college, they go on these trips, backpack trips to Europe. So I missed mine between college and grad school. And my friend graduated year behind, who was going into medical school. And he told me, let's do this. So I went on a trip after first year, and we traveled for 2.5 months backpacking through Europe, and basically on no very limited budget, because my parents they were okay, but I didn't want them to pay for this. And had a lot of thinking, came back, and I was always thinking that being a dentist was very limited type of a thing. And when I came back from Europe, I was actually one day, I remember the shopping center, went grocery shopping with my mom. And the reason, like I said, I was going to be a dentist because my parents wanted me to be a dentist. And we all of a sudden start having this frank discussion. And I told her, well, I'm going to get a license, but I'm not going to practice dentistry. And she goes, what do you mean? Well, I said, I'm going to go hire a bunch of dentists because I need to make money. And And she said, so why are you doing it? And I looked at her, I said, because you tell me to do this. And she says, well, I don't want you to do something that you're going to regret. I say, is that a free ticket? Is that a whole pass? I can do it. She goes, well, you do what you need to do. So then I had to go and get my father on board, which was much more difficult. But my uncle started the company. So this was 87, this fall of 87. My uncle started the company in 85.
Helix
Electric in San Diego. And I was talking to him on and off about different things. I worked there during summers because I needed cash just to go out and stuff. And so I went and talked to him and said, well, I think I got my parents on board. So what do you think? And he said, well, take a year off, come and see if this is something you want to do. You're going to like it. So he said, don't make a decision now. Go back to school, because next week I was driving up to school to start the next year. And said, take a little bit of time. Don't make it just spur. You spent the first year, you invested. And I said, okay, great, thank you. I already made up my mind. So I drove there with all my stuff. And 2 weeks later, I packed all my stuff and came back to work for him. So
this is back in San Diego.
Yeah.
So what was your first job?
He started a small company. My first job was whatever he didn't want to do. So he gave me a title, assistant president. And people used to ask me, well, what does that mean? I said, well, I do whatever Gary doesn't like to do. So I got exposed to everything. We then bought a building, and I was in charge of doing tenant improvements. And then I started learning. He started giving me some jobs to estimate and bid and go sell them. He basically just said, this is your deal. Because I eventually started division. Company didn't do any private work. And I started division of the company that did strictly negotiated private work.
So private work meaning not
anything not government funded.
Anything not government. Okay.
Yeah. So mixed use projects, apartment projects, tenant improvements, medical stuff, things like that. Design build work. And so I started that division in the company, and that was so I moved up pretty quickly. I became an estimator, then I became a project manager, then eventually I became a division manager, and I ran a division. I had, I don't know, just an office, maybe 6-7 people, and then nice staff in the field, and start looking outside, because San Diego was a market, but I always had ambition and growing. And so then we started doing work in Irvine, which is close to San Diego. And then I read this article. So we're doing work with Forest City. And I read this article about Forest City going to build the mall in Henderson. I didn't even know what but figured out Henderson was part of Las Vegas. So call. First I go to people in Irvine, Forest City. They had a big office in LA. And I say, hey, what about this mall you guys doing here? We're doing all your work here now. Can we do that? And they said, we don't even know what you're talking about. That's Cleveland. They didn't even know who the people are there. I said, okay. So I made a cold call.
So Forest City is a big developer, landlord.
Yeah.
And you're talking to your LA people.
Yeah, they have
and they're not connected to this project in Henderson. That's the Cleveland office.
That's right.
Got it. Okay.
Where they're based out of Cleveland. And I call, ended up talking to president of construction company for Forest City, and basically told him, you're going to build the mall here in Las Vegas, and can I meet you because I want to build your mall? And I was very persistent, and he liked that. I was then 31 years old. And after a lot of bidding meetings, we probably left tons of money on the table when we bid that job, because prior to us coming to Nevada, the largest non-union electrical contractor was probably doing $10 million a year, maybe 15, lucky. And that job by itself was $5 million. So a lot of non-union electrical contractors didn't even bid that type of work. They didn't bother. So I went against large union guys who were very comfortable with their numbers. And my number was so attractive that this guy kept talking to me. And we had a company behind us. By then, we were already a substantial company. We've been in business for 10 years. So he didn't, there was a lot of money to not ignore at that point. So after about 6 meetings, flying here back and forth, because he comes to Cleveland, I come here, we meet, talk about this. He tries to scope me out. I keep telling him that I got everything covered. So I walk into my uncle's office and I said, Gary, this is getting old. And he goes, well, why don't I come? So I scheduled another meeting.
The meetings are getting old.
Yeah, okay. Because not getting a result. I keep going and this guy keeps scheduling meetings. So he goes, well, why don't I come? So I said, okay, I'll schedule a meeting. So we scheduled a meeting and both of us flew here and met with the guy. I don't remember his first name was Glenn. I don't remember his last name. And at the end of the meeting, he gave us a job. So, Gary came as a owner, president of the company. They probably gave him some peace of mind. So Gary claimed that he's the one who got the job at that point. But that was one of our first jobs.
Gary's the closer.
That's not him, trust me. But that was our first job, and while we're doing that, we bid Levi Strauss project, and we ended up with that job. Probably also left a lot of money on the table. And then we were doing work at Terminal C. We did the parking garage there. We did Department of Energy facility in North Las Vegas. So we had a whole bunch of work. And one day over lunch, Gary and I having lunch, and he says, we need to open an office in Las Vegas. And I'm like, you're right, Gary, I'm going to go hire somebody because I'm a division manager. I can do all these things. And he's looking at me and gives me this stare and says, I can find somebody too. I said, well, what do you have in mind? So I thought you go to Las Vegas and open an office. I went stunned because I grew up in San Diego. All my friends in San Diego. Never thought I'm going to be living anywhere else. My parents live in San Diego. And I just got married. This is 87. And, 95. 3 years. We just had our son. So I'm like, oh, you want me to do this? I said, well, when do I have to let you know? He looks at me and goes, sooner the better, because we need an office. By then, by the way, we already had like 40 people working for us in Las Vegas. So we needed a home. And came home that night, and my wife said, when are we leaving? So we were here almost less than 60 days. Sold the house and moved here on October 1, 1995.
And so you started in this company, Helix Electric. You have no electrical contracting background, nothing. No. You basically learned it from the ground up, doing whatever your uncle didn't want to do, and estimating and bidding and division manager and cold calling and creating basically a whole division in a different market. And now he's ordained you the Las Vegas Helix market leader.
Now, I'm 32 years old. I never opened an office. I never leased a space in my life. And San Diego those days was way different than Cowboy Town, which I didn't realize. But and it was a very cultural shock and experience, because I wore suit and tie every day in San Diego.
Very formal.
Yeah. And I came here and went to a couple meetings, and everybody asking me if I'm a banker. I said, okay, the tie got to go. And then jacket got to go. And then, then I met Frank Martin in the boots and cowboy. He actually gave me the first job when we were here. And a belt buckle. I go, that's what it needs to be. I said, well, I'm not I'm not really a Jewish cowboy, but but that was a big cultural experience.
I'm not really a Jewish cowboy.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
That's funny. So 31 years old, you get sent off to Vegas. You're starting the 32, the Helix Electric office.
32 was when we moved here. It was 2 days later. My birthday was 32. Yeah.
Okay. So let's put a little pause on that. We'll finish your bio and then we'll pick it back up. So now you're the president of Helix Electric, which is the largest non-union electrical contractor in the state.
Yeah.
In the whole state.
Yeah.
But you just heard some news that potentially...
Yeah, I heard it from a competitor the other day that we're actually the largest electrical contractor in the state of Nevada.
And what is that measured by? Is it volume? Volume?
Mostly volume, yeah.
Okay. Tell me more about Helix. So you started here on a cold call. What are you guys at now from an organizational standpoint?
So this year we're going to finish roughly $280 million in revenue. And... started here with $5 million in revenue in 1995. I bought the company from my uncle in 2001, and then we were doing $30 million a year. And so it's a big deal. We have over 900 people work for us. We have in Vegas alone, in our what we call campus, we own 2 buildings over in Sunset. We have over 120 people working in those facilities. We have an office in Reno with about 35-ish in the office, and we have an office in Salt Lake City, also about 25 to 30 people in the office. And the rest people in the field, because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we hit over 900 total people in just a couple months ago. And probably because our growth in Reno, we're probably going to be over 1,100 in about a couple months, 2-3 months from now.
Wow.
So we are the people company. We're all founded about our people. You know, what's interesting, and it's actually, I learned that in Salt Lake City. A lot of the subcontractors use their people as a tool for their success. Our philosophy is, if we take care of the people, we will be successful. So our people really proud to be, I say 80% of our people proud to be with the company. We have veterans over 30 years that have been with the company. And I'm very focused. I will not allow mishandling of any employees. If somebody has a medical issues and I find out about it, if our HR people cannot help, I'll get involved. And I have a lot of connection in this town. And I helped a lot of people. I saved a lot of people's lives that could have been left to just misguidance, our system. So, and that's what we pride ourselves. We teach people. So our people, unlike union contractor, our people work for us. They're our people. So they really care that the company does well. So they want the company to do well, and they put their pride, because I totally believe that every person really wants to be successful. When they come to work, they want to be successful. So sometimes they don't understand what that means. Mm-hmm. We don't give them guidance, and then they fall on their face. But if we do train them and we give them tools, they do very well. They do very well. And we pay people extremely well. We pay people way above the market. Our wages pretty close, take home pay as close as union. But the difference is our people are work for the company. They don't have any allegiance. We have a full 401k, 32% matching, which is unheard of in very few companies in our type of industry to do that. No, no minimum. Government minimum, government max, and try to give the best benefits PTO is amazing. So we just increased the PTO for our people. And why can we do that? Because the company is successful. And I'm back to, if we take care of the people, that will make companies successful. And that's our philosophy.
And that extends outside of your organization into the community. I know that Helix as a company is involved with several causes, some of them, and you could tell me what's current, what's not current, what's currently on your mind around these. So Down Syndrome Organization of Southern Nevada, 22 Warriors, Those Left Behind, Animal Foundation, Opportunity Village, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and the KLUC Toy Drive.
Yes.
Did I miss any?
There's probably another dozen, but those are major. So we just added a couple charities. Number one, we do charities, golf tournament charities, twice a year in Las Vegas, once a year in Reno. And once our office gets developed in Salt Lake City, we're going to start doing there as well. We totally believe in giving back. That's been always our philosophy, and we're trying to stick with it. So our charities are picked for a golf tournament, picked by our people. Some of them have been with us now for almost 10 years. And last golf tournament in Las Vegas, we raised over $50,000 for charity. In Reno, wow. I think we raised close to 55. It's a big deal. And our tournaments are waitlisted. that became so popular. And it's a big deal. It makes me and our people very proud of what we do. So those are first of all, those charities. And then KLUC. Toy Drive is a big deal. We, the first ones every year in that toy drive. We're there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Our people there, we bring like 2 semis with bikes and toys and you name it. And speaking of that toy drive, we challenge people in this town to step up and doing more, because it's extremely, extremely important for the unprivileged kids have opportunity to have toys for Christmas. Hope for Prisoners is another one. And we're big, in fact, my wife served on a board, and we're a big supporter of Hope for Prisoners. Giving people second chance is a huge thing. We just built a training facility at medium security detention in Indian Springs. It's a big deal, and now they're gonna, and we're gonna be involved in training the people that hopefully in 2 years they come to real world as an individuals that could contribute and have a career.
I'm writing down the next question. Not the next question, but a next question.
That's fine. It's fine.
Okay, I'm going to round out your bio. So we covered, your company, what you do with your company, how you got to the company, but the other part of your bio, the most important part of your bio, what you do when you're not working. It says that you enjoy family time with your wife and 2 kids. You're passionate about skiing, golf, traveling, and wine.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So now we're officially through your bio. I could say officially welcome.
Influential thing? Is that something we're going to talk about?
Which one?
Most influential thing?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
It's your show, not mine.
It's
okay. I got it.
You're the star of the show.
Yeah.
No, I want to just officially welcome you to the Takeaways podcast.
Thank you.
I know you're a big fan.
Yeah.
You text me all the time when I have guests on that you know.
Yeah. Most of them I know very well.
Who's your favorite?
Guy's
pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
Guy's pretty good.
Guy Martin.
Yeah, he's done incredible. I know Guy. He built our offices in 1998. But like I said, I have a lot of ties with Frank, not just as a business associate, but as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
He believed and gave me a job. I remember walking into his office. Some of you people know Frank. Frank is a big guy, and he had strategically chairs across his desk lower. And, Beside the fact he's a big guy, he had this huge desk in our old office. I sit there and, this giant looks at me and he goes, son, why do you think I should give you a job? And I said, because I'm that good. And he gave me the project before I left his office. He believed in me. And, Martin Harris has been our strategic partner for all those years since 95 and one of the largest customers that we work with. Yeah.
So your bio says committed family man. Tell me about your family.
So we have 2 kids. My son is 32. Will be 32 in January. I'm going to be a grandfather in March. So very
Mazel
excited.
tov.
Thank you. And he lives in Park City. He works for our Salt Lake City office as a project manager. He went to USC, and then he went to law school. Wanted to be a contractor, so he's not practicing law at the moment. And so he's done well. And my daughter is his name is Lawrence. My daughter is Lizzie, and Lizzie has done a lot of things. Went to school for marketing and nonprofit type of a career. Worked for Jewish Nevada for over 2 years, and just recently resigned and started her own business. And she's an event planner, and she's been around us for a long time. Lana and I seen our hard working, and she already got a whole bunch of bookings and dates, and she just got booked for Young Presidents Organization for the whole year, doing all their events.
Wow.
So it's a big deal. She's very excited. She loves that part. That's what she was actually doing in Jewish Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So she took it to the next level. She's also a ballroom dancer, and currently she's in Serbia in a competition. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So your wife Lana, and you have Lawrence and Lizzie.
Yeah. And we have 2 dogs, very large dogs, Lucifer and Lilius.
Everyone has an L except for you.
Yeah, that's because my daughter-in-law is Lauren. And
even your daughter-in-law.
So everybody's L. Yeah.
So your daughter now has to find someone.
Yeah.
A mate with an L.
I didn't think so. You know somebody?
Well, I'm going to go through the L's in my phone book, and then
we'll start. Yeah.
It's got to have an L first name, though.
Doesn't have to.
It sounds like it has to.
It doesn't have to.
It's going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
You mentioned Gary.
Yeah.
That's your uncle. Schechter. Tell me about Gary Schechter.
So he's the one who gave me opportunity where I'm at today. And I'm very grateful. What he did, he believed in me, because I'm sure some people were telling him he's crazy. When he did this thing by sending me to Las Vegas, basically with absolutely no skill set of that, or running an office or anything like that, I tell you something, I would never do that. And he said then that was a crazy thing, but he bet on me and he did it. And it was the right thing for both of us. And he's been a mentor. He's a very bright guy. He's also American Dream. Came here and built a tremendous company. So when I bought the company from him, and it was part of the succession type of scenario. So we still affiliate 2 companies together, and we're 10th largest in the United States. So not a lot of people can do that.
Wow.
So our company, he started the culture, although, he's taking it on, but he set some values, and he's been a mentor for me in the business. So
what exactly does an electrical contractor do?
Anything that has to do with providing power to the building. So it can start from underground, setting up transformers or substations to bringing the power into the building, setting up. They're going to start getting technical, setting up switchgear and installing lights, But we don't just do electrical work. We also do engineering. So a lot of our work, probably 35 to 40%, is design build, where we're the engineers on the job. We have 20 engineers in the house. That's where they do design projects. So maybe I should say it starts from design stage, producing drawings, and then installing all the electrical, all the wiring, and so it touches anybody in our life are connected to what we do, pretty much, because homes, apartments, offices, what have you. So.
And who hires you? The contractor? Is it the developer?
Depends. It depends on the marketplace.
The architect?
Sometimes architect. Normally, at the end of the day, our contract is with a general contractor. But a lot of times we're on the job before the general contractor. Some general contractors don't like that because we get selected before then. But we have a very strong relationship, repeat business, and people just want us on the job. Why? Because they know we're going to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely know we're going to get things done. So it's a big deal. We have a great reputation. We built tons of stuff in this town, and so our business model. And I'm just going to talk about our company here because California company has a different business model. But if I talk about our company here, we do everything except single family homes. We have 55 trucks 24/7 on the road that do service work. So if you need to put some custom fan or put a bunch of fixtures or replace a bunch of fixtures or convert your lights to LED, we do that too. We have several divisions in the company. They're all tracked by P&L, standalone division, and they're all division manager responsible for their profitability. So service division has 50 trucks 24/7, and that's what we do. If Prem has a power outage, they call us because we service that account for the last 15 years or something like that. And and then we do some big distribution work. We also do big solar power plants. So, yeah. So that
answers it, yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's a question that you were waiting for.
Yeah.
It's a question I ask everyone on the show. What's the single most influential thing or event in your life that has shaped you the most?
I met my wife and got married because she's been a great partner and helped me and pushed me to be successful and where we got today. And being understanding because, my life was not having a family dinner every night at 6:00, unlike some of my friends have and stuff like that. Because again, it was a hunger and power. I wanted to achieve something, and I believed I had capability to do that. And it took a lot of sacrifices, and she supported it. So that was a big thing. I mean, moving here, just two of us with a 2-year-old son, was quite a challenge, quite a risk, and she was supportive. It wasn't easy. It didn't just start like this, boom, 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 boom. I mean, our business is a tough business. It requires somebody with a very strong adversity to do that, because you can go in one day from pluses and minuses, 50 times. And you go to that problem, but then you got to walk out that problem to some celebration and feel like a totally different person, because otherwise you're not a leader, and the people who just succeeded have nothing to do with something else that just happened. And it's not fair if you're going to take those emotions and push it in them. It took me, by the way, a long time to learn that. But if you want to be successful, you need to be a leader at the moment.
How did you meet? You and Lana?
Blind date. total blind date. We were born in the same city, believe it or not, in Soviet Union.
Okay.
She's also from Ukraine. And she moved to Las Vegas. A friend of mine knew her dad, said, perhaps you might want to meet. So it was a blind date.
So she lived here?
She lived in New York, and she moved to Las Vegas. Sorry.
San Diego.
San Diego. That's
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yeah, San Diego. Thank you for, yeah.
So she moved there, same town, so they just connected you on a blind date.
Yep.
Did you know on the first date that she was the one?
Yes. I actually proposed on the second date. Yeah. No, not
Did she
proposed.
say
Not
yes on the second
proposed.
date?
No, not proposed. Not proposed, but I said, I'm going to marry you.
Mhm.
And she said, there's no way. And I said, I always get what I want. And pretty good salesman and pretty insistent. Yeah. So, yeah. And actually formally proposed 6 months after. And we were married a year after we originally met.
And how long have you been married now?
32 years. It's going to be
Wow.
33 next month.
So when you actually said when you were talking about how you ended up in Vegas, so you met with Gary for lunch, you came home, and she's the one that said to you,
Yeah.
when are we moving?
When are we moving?
So
That's
is that an example of how she pushed you in
Yeah.
a way?
Well, somewhat. There was a reason. There was something else that I didn't want to get into an organization that kind of solved the problem by itself. There was some competing going on in where I was working, and this eliminated that whole thing altogether. So that was an interesting concept, although I never thought of it. I was always thinking how I solved that issue.
Mm-hmm.
The issue was solved by me moving out of San Diego office. So, but yeah, it was a tough decision once she supported it, because I didn't think it was going to be that quick. And then I actually had to make a decision. And at that point, it was, we just moved to brand new offices. I had the second biggest office in San Diego office that I built because I was in charge of that build out. And I sat in that office after I was going to tell Gary I'm in, and said, if I don't succeed, I'm not coming back here. I'm not going to have this office. And who knows how it's going to be, because it was very unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was taking a chance, huge chance, which I'm glad I did. But it didn't have to go that way either. So
I'm glad it worked out.
yeah, it did. It did. Yeah.
So let's go back to your life in the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about anti-Semitism and some of the conditions. So even though your parents had, degrees and
they had a job,
careers, they weren't making it.
Yeah,
Didn't
they
have
had a
enough
job.
money to buy a car.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Ukraine back then.
Yeah.
But now we've all learned, our geography, because
Of the
Russia
war.
has now
Yeah.
invaded Ukraine.
Right.
All these years later. How did you feel about that?
I feel it's horrible. I feel, Putin just exercising something that he can. And frankly, to say you, I didn't think Ukraine was that strong, because I thought that war was going to be over in 30 days. He was going to come in. Ukraine is going to say, okay, we're just back under Russia control versus prior to the former Soviet Union, because Ukraine was a progressive country, but they didn't really have that strong of a military. They sold their navy during that whole perestroika stuff to somebody else. They were not ready for war. And patriotism and what happened is just amazing. I wish it'd be over, because people are fighting brothers. This is not like Israel or Middle East. We can get into that different. This is the people brothers and sisters live on the other side.
Mm.
There's Russian Russian army, young kids, they have no idea why they're fighting. And it's really bad. It's egos, and the problem is Putin doesn't know how to take defeat.
Yeah. There's no off-ramp.
There's no off-ramp. Although apparently there was something close, as I read, and I'm not going to get too much into politics, but as I listened to RFK speaking on his, when he decided not to run for president, apparently there was a deal that was on the table that Biden administration killed it. So we might have had a peace. Who knows? Because there's nothing to decide in this situation. This is not like terrorists killing other people somewhere. But what Russians have done is killing innocent people, and it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Walking into villages and raping women. This was done in when Germans came to Soviet Union. This is not the same deal. So
you and I are both part of this organization called NAIOP, which
Right.
is the Association for the Commercial Real Estate Development Industry. They have a breakfast every month, and every breakfast they have a sponsor. And I think you guys sponsor at least once a year, every year.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was this past year.
2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. You came on. It was a different kind of a presentation. Usually the presenting sponsor says, this is who we are. This is our company. This is what we do. And we like doing business with you guys and want to do more business. It was more of a personal presentation. It was it was right around when the war broke out, so it was fresh on everyone's mind. You know, a lot of us aren't from that part of the world, are just starting to get to know it, are just starting to get to know the history and the geopolitics that go into it. And your presentation was, I think you started out as I was born in Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What I got out of that, first of all, you know, the journey you've been on to get to where you are now as the president of Helix, the largest non-union electrical contractor in Nevada.
Yep.
How does that sound? Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
And the gratitude that you have for the United States. Talk about that.
Well, I truly think United States is the land of opportunity. It gives people, and we need to go back to those roots, because when we came to this country, it was giving us much more opportunity than it does today. But it gives opportunity. If you're willing to work hard, you can succeed. You can succeed. I mean, my parents came to this country with $2,000 and they had to buy a car, because in San Diego without a car, you couldn't get anywhere. And that was it. And look where we are today. And nobody handed us anything. So it's all about working hard. It's a true capitalism. It's true opportunity. If you're willing to take things on and you're willing to work hard and you're passionate about it, you can achieve. There's no limit to it. And that's how this country was built and formed. And, you know, if you want to be lazy and don't do anything, then there's a place for that too. But it's the best country in the world, I truly believe, even with some of the issues we have today. And I think we need to fix some issues. We need to work hard to fix it and get back to the roots where our founding fathers of the United States did it. And when we got naturalized, that's the biggest thing was for me, be proud to be American.
When was that?
It was, so we came here in 78, so 83, 5 years. We had to wait 5 years to get naturalized. But we were very proud. We were very proud to be an American. Mind you, also, when we left Soviet Union, we had to pay to lose our citizenship. So when we left the country, there was no country. And then we became Americans. So,
do you think that's lost on a lot of Americans that don't know
100%.
an alternative?
Yep. I think some Americans who complain and think it's better need to go live in Venezuela for a year.
Just to try it out.
Yeah, just to see. Just try it out. But without having dollars. Just go there, ground zero, no money, and get a job and see how they like it.
Learn the language.
Yeah. And see how they like it. And see what kind of opportunity that country can provide them. So
I was born here in Las Vegas, but growing up, my father, my aunts and uncles, same story. They all came here with nothing, with no language, and figured it out.
Yeah.
My dad would tell stories how he would go to the paint store. They did construction in Israel, so has a construction background. He'd go hang out at the paint store and would wait for people to come buy paint and offer his services to paint for them. Yeah. Similar to now when you go to Home Depot and there's guys standing out there just waiting for someone to say, hey, I've got a job for you today.
Right.
So
yeah. But those guys who are standing out there, by the way, can get a job. But they can't get a job. And there are some things in our country we need to fix. I think the fact that we got so tough on some of the people that have been living in the country for 20, 30 years. And we tell them because they're not necessarily got here legally, they cannot work. Somebody put in the time. We should honor their time. And so
it's not a very Republican thing to say.
I know there's certain things.
Wow, Victor, you're surprising me.
There is certain things I am not in line with Republican. As much as Republican I am, there are certain things I'm totally not in line. We're short of labor, and we don't find a solution.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I like where this went.
Yeah.
I was going to say to you at the beginning, this is not a political show. But you also said at the beginning you don't want to get political, but. Wow, this went in a good way.
There is. I actually had lunch today with somebody, and I said, "There's certain are things that I am not 100% aligned. Abortion has nothing to do with politics. It should never been there, because if you don't want to get political, because if abortion was not on the table, these will have nothing to complain about." But and
without the politics there, I get what you're saying.
I feel that people should control their body. It's nobody's business. So women. So I'm 100% for women's rights, and I believe if somebody works hard, the country should give him opportunity. Doesn't matter how he got here, as long as he has a clean record, not criminal, and works very hard. We should give him opportunity to become American. And I think that's fault of our system. But
so to stay on the political part a little bit, maybe not. So you grew up with actual anti-Semitism.
Yes.
Where just by being a Jew, you were discriminated against for a job. You were at risk physically of getting beaten up. I grew up in Las Vegas, from the 80s forward. There's always some of that, but not to the point where I'm fearful of my safety. Never have I had that. My father had a swastika spray painted on a construction site once. It was on the news, but again, no physical violence. You mentioned Israel and the war in Gaza, where again, politics, no politics. That issue somewhere else in the world has ramifications here at home, here in Las Vegas, across the United States, where there is a rise in anti-Semitism. And many of the things that we saw leading into World War II, we're seeing here in America today. One of which, let's say, the whole uprising in the universities. Things started back then like that in World War II in Europe. Now they're starting here like this, or have occurred here like this. Do you see any similarities for what you experienced growing up that are existing now? Or how do you think about this whole rise in anti-Semitism?
I think it's got way too tied to being liberal. And a lot of liberal people automatically lean that way. The college campus is just, I was going to touch that. That's one of the things we got to fix in America. It should never be allowed. I don't care. I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm all for free rights and Constitution. This is going way beyond. Things like that should never be allowed on campuses. And people jump on Palestinian side, they don't even know what it's all about. When people go ask him, what are you talking about? They have no clue. But the reason they jump on it, because our country right now is so divided. And if you're not on the conservative side, then you're liberal. And if you're liberal and you have no clue what you're doing, then you should probably be supporting Palestine and be Palestinian. And then you put that turb and everything else on you and walk around without even knowing where the country is. You know, from a river to a sea, nobody understands what that really means.
You mentioned, Russian troops are, let's say, pillaging Ukrainian areas. No one says anything about that. No protests on the college campuses. None of that. I can't wrap my head around what you just said, that it's a liberal thing or a not a liberal thing. There's something else around prejudice against Jews or racism against Jews that exists, and not just in a like you could say racism against black people in America in certain parts or all parts, let's say, and racism against Jews is a universal thing almost. It's anywhere in the globe.
And it's always been there.
Why though? Why? I can't wrap my head around, because it's not liberal in my opinion.
No. But what it was always there. Somewhat the prejudice was there. It was put down and quiet.
Because it's not okay to be racist, period, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But
if you're Jewish, now it's seemingly okay. That's what I can't wrap my head around.
I missed your point.
It's so.
If you're Jewish, it's okay to be racist.
It's okay to be racist against Jews. So it was suppressed. Because it's not okay to be racist about anyone.
That's right.
Before this whole thing, there was this whole cancel culture where everyone got canceled.
Yeah.
You can't be misogynistic, male against female, Me Too movement, or worse than that. You can't be racist. You can't say the N-word and have a profession after that.
That's right.
It became okay to say, I don't like Jews, and they're despicable.
So it's a deep question, but people try to relate conflict between Russia and Ukraine to conflict between Israel and Palestine. And I think it have no similarities. The reason there's a conflict between Israel and Palestine, or because Israel wants their people to be at peace. And that's what's lost. And Hamas and Hezbollah developing terrorists who kill innocent people. And I'm, as much as I pro peace between Russia and Ukraine, because this is just fighting for piece of land and killing innocent people, I am not pro for settling today in Israel. Israel needs to finish the job and get every Hezbollah and every Hamas out of there, because what happened on October 7th is unheard of, and should never happen again. And the only way it will never happen again is when Israel wipes every one of those guys. And it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
I
would say eliminate the threat, which is what it is. The threat, as long as the threat's there.
There is a society that's been brought up from feeding babies with milk over there of hating Jews. And I've been involved in Young Presidents Organization. I've been exposed to different countries, and I have people, Arab friends, and I have Palestinian friends, the ones that don't agree with this whole thing. But when I went to school in Jordan at the settlement camp, and the young girl, 9 years old, was talking about how much he hates Jews and how Israel should give that land back to them, I knew there's never going to be a peace. They've been brought up from the day they were born of hating Jews. and at least extremists need to be eliminated. And it's not just putting them in jail. They need to be eliminated. So when people say we should settle and Israel should stop, no, I am totally against any stop until the job is done.
Let's shift gears, shall we?
Yeah, you touched the subject.
No, you mentioned, it's an interesting topic that I'll just say this and we'll move on. For me, it's a complicated conflict, and unless you are an expert and really understand, I'm not saying you or me, I'm just saying in general, and really understand the people, the history, the sources of the conflict, and that you should certainly not forward stupid videos on social media that are sound bites.
Well,
I don't think that adds to anything.
I totally
on
agree.
on either side, let's say, right?
I have intelligent people they used to have a lot of respect for, calling Israel genocide. And this is mind-boggling. Jews are not fighters. Jews do not kill people.
So whoever hears this, here's what I would say. And if you're one of these people that believes that, ask yourself the source of your information. And if it isn't something that is thoroughly studied, I mean, if it is what I think it is, which is you're on social media and you're seeing other people post videos about this who are they themselves not experts, but giving their opinion. And it's not even their opinion. It's something that they're forwarding from something else.
Right.
This is actually a problem, I think, in our society. That's not right or left. It's the way that people get their information and process their information and what they let themselves believe without doing their own research and due diligence. Like you said, you went to Jordan yourself and saw with your own eyes. So pick your topic. You know, if you're a virology expert now because of COVID, and then you're a geopolitical expert because there's a war in Russia and Ukraine, and you've not studied the history, you haven't walked on the land, you've never been in a lab, just shut up.
You're right.
In a way, that's a whole separate deal. The thing I was going to say about the conflict in Israel and Gaza is something there where the majority of people who are speaking out and forwarding and making videos and all that stuff have never been there to either side. They've never walked the land. They never spoke to a single person that's Israeli or Palestinian. They haven't tried their food. They haven't physically walked or driven across the borders. How something like that can conflate in the United States, in Las Vegas, to anti-Semitism and Jew hate, that's a thing that boggles me today, but we can move on. You mentioned YPO, Young Presidents Organization. So you're in that?
Yeah, I was.
Tell me what that is and how did you get in it and what has it done for you?
I've been in an organization for the last 24 years, 25 years. I've been, I'm not so, now we called YPO Gold because we're not so young anymore. But I joined it.
So getting in, you have to be 40 or younger than 40?
No, you have to be there before your 45th birthday.
Before you're 45, and you have to have a company that has certain either
revenue and
employees.
Yeah.
And then once you've been in it for a while and you pass, is it 50 years old?
50, you move on to YPO.
Then you go to YPO Gold. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a huge international organization that gives you exposure to different people from all over the world, whether in your industry or some other industry. They have a lot of events for yourself and spouse, for yourself on business side, networks, for your kids. Our kids gone through a lot of education through YPO, and YPO is about family and education and sharing your experiences. That's what the organization is about. And for me, it was a huge, huge growth process. Some of the interesting things is before I joined YPO and before I went to university, they have these international universities where people come from all over the world. I will, because Arabs hated us and because the whole Middle Eastern world hated Jews, I was very apprehensive ever thinking I was going to be friends with Arab people. I have a lot of Arab friends today because it breaks those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You actually looking at each other as humans versus looking what country you're from. Those boundaries are all gone. There's also another thing in YPO, whether you're worth 10 billion or you're worth 1 million, you're the same person. And you'll be in a group talking to those people. And they're actually humans. They're not some, there are some exceptions, but they are the same humans. They just work hard, got lucky, or, inherited, whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
But they're normal people. So those boundaries are broken. And then there is a such thing as forums, which is normally 8 people that meet on monthly basis, and it's 100% confidential, and those people become probably close, sometimes closer than some of your brothers and sisters in your family, because you pretty much can share everything, because it's lonely at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now these 8 guys care about your success, and they can help you with whatever issues you have, or give you, it's actually, you're not supposed to give advice, share with you their experience that you can take and relate to yours. So that's a huge thing. I recommend if anybody gets some qualifications, that's a big, huge growth experience you ever can have in professional life, in personal life, and with the kids. There's a lot of events, father-son, father-daughter. We've done them all. Here's another thing. With that organization, it gives you opportunity to pick up the phone and call somebody for help, and they will help you. You're in this organization. My wife's father needed a medicine that was life or death type thing. And there was a person in an organization that runs a big pharmaceutical organization that ended up being a father-son experience with him. And we put out the name, and he saw our name on the list and picked up the phone and called and said, I have this medicine. It was not available anywhere in the country. They had a leftover. It made a difference of him surviving.
Wow.
And people care. People care, and they go out of the way. So it's a huge, if you can join it, I highly
turn 45 in a couple months. I don't think I'm going to make the cutoff.
You can make the cutoff 45, maybe. But you need to apply. Number one, you first have to apply. Here's another thing. There's a lot of people in this town that you and I know. I brought into that organization because at one point when I joined, the organization was very weak, and we took it over, and today they were waitlist almost. And there's a lot of people that I was a membership chair, and I recruited them into organization. They thank me today that they're part of it.
So one of the first times you and I met, I don't know if it was the first time, but it was certainly one of the first times. It was at a Jewish Federation event. It was at the Lou Rouveau Center, and Larry Rouveau was the speaker. It was a luncheon that was organized.
Larry Rouveau, by the way, is YPO too.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah.
And I remember at that event, I don't know if, you just kind of meet who's there, handshake, this, that, the other, or I think you even approached me.
Yeah.
We got introduced, and you invited me to your office or to lunch to network. I remember very explicitly. You said, I'd like to network. And so the dynamic, I'm much younger, just starting out in my career. You're already established. You're already like, of all the people in the room, it was like 30, 40 guys there. Like, you're one of the big machers already.
Yeah.
And you're saying this to me. I was like, oh my goodness. First of all, I felt honored. Secondly, I was like, this is so interesting. Is this how you network, is what I was thinking to myself. He must be a really good networker. If you're proactively giving your time to someone like me in that sort of dynamic that I mentioned. So are you a good networker?
I think so. I pretty much know everybody in town, and I'm working to now, on 2 cities that I don't live in. But based on my experiences and what I have done, I know what works and what probably doesn't. I also can pick up the bullshit very quickly. In my younger days, I used to be naive and taken down and wasted a lot of time. But I'm a very good. I feel I'm a very good marketing person and a sales guy for our industry. And I'm very persistent. I don't go away. If you're going to shut the door, I'm going to climb through the window. But I don't go away. So, and some people might resent that, but I think a lot of times it's respect because you do it in a way. Because I don't bullshit. I do what I say. I stand behind what I say. And it's very important to me that, my employees know. It's very hard. They used to say, very hard to get commitment out of Victor. Once you get it, you can take it for life. And I believe living in that. So once somebody gives us opportunity, I'm not going to disappoint them. That's one thing I guarantee. But sometimes it's tough. Yeah. Sometimes people discount you. I hate being discounted. It's yeah.
What are some takeaways you could share around what works in networking and maybe what doesn't work?
Well, what works in networking? You got to show up. That's number one. You got to show up. You got to be there. Things just don't come to you. And you got to work hard for it. And you got to be persistent. And when you give an opportunity, you got to make sure that you follow through with it the best possible way you can. And because especially in our industry, there's probably 300 electricians here in town, right? And we weren't here. I was suit and tie in a cowboy town. So, you gotta show that you're different. That's why people will take you in your industry. And we have different industries. So you gotta play. So if you're playing soccer, you better play soccer, not baseball, because the round big ball and the round small ball, totally different deal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's people that go to Walmart and some of them buy groceries there. And then there's people go to Whole Foods, and both companies are very successful. So you got to play in your marketplace. Know who you are. You got to know who you are, and you got to know what your audience is and who you're dealing with. And one thing, at least in my perspective, you need to put your ego in check and deal, and that's what you said. When I met you as a young person, I have no problems talking to people. I know what I accomplished and I'm fine with it, but I don't have a chip on my shoulder. And I think sometimes certain people do. They get to a certain point and they just think they're I don't know, they're SHT. And
you can say that. It's okay.
Shit. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, they're the shit. And that's not good. It's not good.
Let's do some rapid fire takeaways, and then I'll let you get back to your networking and your very successful electrical contracting company.
Thank you.
What would you say are some critical tips or non-negotiables for building a team around you?
Number one, don't break your word. Number two, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are. Because you got to remember, I'm not an electrician, nor I'm an electrical engineer. Mm-hmm. But I have a lot of smart people around me and I know where I'm going, whatever that meaning is, and there's going to be the right people with me that will, as a team, we're going to support it. I truly believe as a team, it's not I, it's us, it's we. In fact, we have a thing in our company when one of our employees say, in this company, I correct them, it's our company. We all believe that it's our company. And just the way you're talking about that, it changes the whole dynamic. And whenever somebody stands up in front of the group, in our group, and says, in this company, I say, no, our company. I correct them. Mm-hmm. I stop in the middle of speech. I say, our company. So, in order to lead the group, and quite large group, you got to take care of the people. And that's a big, big deal. And you got to be passionate. You got to be really passionate about what you do and believe in what you do. And if I also, if you do all those things, you will be successful. Unless you hate what you're doing. Then can't help.
And you'll be miserable.
Somebody asked me the other day, a friend of mine, Afir Hagai.
Mm-hmm.
He was giving me a lecture this morning about that I am succeeded so much in my life that I should just slow down and enjoy the fruits. And my response was, Afir, the other day I didn't call you back in an hour and a half, and you were upset.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
can you remember what got you into wine?
Yes, actually YPO. So we were in our first university, and there was a known guy, Ken Chase, lives in Canada, and he was there as a resource. He's actually a professor on wine. He used to pick wine for Delta Airline, I think American Airline as well, for their stuff. And he was on a trip, and he's a very dynamic person, great personality, actually plays piano and sings and all kinds of stuff. And we got together and started talking about wine. We actually took a class, and he was telling us about how to smell the wine, how to drink the wine, how to hold the wine glass. And it got me very excited and interesting. And I am not, I don't have a palate. My wife has very good palate. She can pick certain wines like nobody. I don't have that palate, but I know good wine and bad wine. And now I have a lot of very good wine. But he got me into it, and he actually talked about science of wine and how the wine can change your mood and all that stuff.
What about golf makes you passionate?
Yeah. Well, definitely not scoring, because that's not my deal. But it's a great time to spend. Number one, golf is great for business. And a lot of times my clients who became my friends, and where else you can take people out for 4.5, 5 hours and spend time with them. Being outside is great. There is a challenge. I mean, hitting that ball, I'm a very competitive person. The fact that I don't get there, that's a separate story. But I love the game, and I love to play all the new courses and being outdoors, and it's beautiful. And when you hit that one shot, and sometimes it happens 3-4 times during the round, that's just awesome.
Brings you back for the next round.
That's right.
Yeah. So we talked about Jewish Federation, which here is also called Jewish Nevada. Jewish Federation is the sort of the umbrella fundraising organization in any community. It's a national organization, then there's like local chapters, like here we have Jewish Nevada. So they raise the money, and then they allocate it to various services, from youth to, let's say, babies to adolescents to teenagers to even senior care. So the whole spectrum. And even some non-Jewish causes. So I know you're personally involved with Jewish Federation. I've got a question on philanthropy in general, but before I ask you that, you said the Federation was involved in bringing your family to the United States.
Yeah, because there was a fund that Federation and contributed to, because we had no money. They paid for us to live and gave us money for food in Italy for 3 months. They paid for all the transportation. The minute we got to Vienna, they took care of everything, and up to the point until you got your first job in the United States. So I am in debt for them forever, because we came to this country with nothing. And it'd be very difficult if we had to make a first rent payment. And they helped find the job. And, I think just in general, Jewish faith is very important, and we need to keep it alive. And that's what they do. So, my kids are very passionate about it. Both of my kids went to March of Living. I also went as chaperone with my daughter. It was amazing. Also, my dad, we had 3 generations there at, Auschwitz. It was quite touching. And all those things are not going to happen if we don't have a common, I think Jewish Federation is a common organization that keeps Jews together. And in fact, I want to tell you, if somebody is not part of it, I don't care how much money you have. It's all your discretion what you want to do. But whether it's $500 or $10,000 or more, it's irrelevant. You should give something, because you ask of all the anti-Semitism, well, that's what, at least we have one thing common. Mm-hmm. It's Federation, your family, and shul. Okay? And I think every Jew that is not participates, it's shame.
So what are some takes? So that's personal. We talked earlier about your company and all the various causes that they're involved with. So what are some takeaways you want to share about philanthropy?
If you do well, you should give back. You should give back because somebody needs it. And I'm very actually proud of Helix Electric, the Warriors organization. We met him and started his organization 9 years ago. And this organization that provides dog to PTSD soldiers as a support. And now it's a major organization. But we were the first supporter. We helped them grow their organization. And it's amazing. Helping people and giving back to the community is just part of my life. That's what you should do. And like I said, like Jewish people say, tzedakah, you have to give something. Mm-hmm. I think it's an individual. If you have a job and you're making a living, you should allocate something to charitable cause. Now, if you don't work and don't do anything, that's a different situation. We'll have a completely different discussion about that.
Yeah. All right. Ending question.
Yes.
Given all the geopolitical issues in the world and some of the issues we mentioned in the U.S., what are you hopeful about?
You mean November 5th? I think we need to get our country
in general.
Back.
What are you hopeful about?
Well, number one, I hope that in Middle East we get to the place where Israeli people will not have to be worried about their safety. That's number one. I hope we get to that point. In America, I hope the anti-Semitism will disappear, and I hope our government take control of those campuses, because what we allowed in the last 3 years is absolutely unheard of. And look, there are some states that don't allow to that extreme, but there's some other states that close their eyes because they're afraid that the wealthy donors are going to cut them off and not support it. So they're driven by completely different motivations. I hope we get our country back in order, and so we can give opportunity to our people to succeed and stop destroying businesses, because that's what's been happening in the last few years.
All right. Well, thanks for being a part of the Takeaways podcast. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you about your takeaways from this episode. Make sure to leave us a comment or leave us a review. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear future episodes as they come out. My name is Chaim Mizrahi. Tune in next time.